Oh, RNC, we're not done with you yet. I wanted to cover Stefanik's speech, which I do think had some parts that were interesting, and then I'll play parts of it and go over it.
We always say that this is the most important election in our lifetime, but we know deep down this one truly is. Our Constitution and the soul of our very nation are on the ballot. Under Joe Biden, the American people have suffered crisis after crisis. From the Biden border, the most wide-open border in our nation's history, to Bidenflation, the highest rate of inflation in my lifetime, devastating hardworking families with skyrocketing prices for groceries, gas, and utilities, to Biden's violent crime crisis, fueled by Democrats' pro-criminal sanctuary cities and defund the police policies like we have seen in my home state of New York. All while corrupt Democrat prosecutors and judges wage illegal and unconstitutional lawfare against President Trump in an effort to do Joe Biden's political bidding. And around the world, the feckless and failed Joe Biden has caused chaos, weakening our national security. From the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan, to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, to Hamas's terrorist attack against our most precious ally, Israel. And let me ask you a question. What has been the response from the radical left on our college campuses? Vile anti-Semitism, chanting death to Israel, death to Jews, death to America. This is Joe Biden's Democrat Party. Who saw that congressional hearing with the college presidents of so-called elite universities? Oh, wait, they are former presidents. You know, I asked one simple question at that hearing. It was not a political question. It was a moral question, and that was this. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate your university's code of conduct? And one after the other said it depends on the context. Let me tell you, America knows it does not depend on the context. President Trump will bring back moral leadership to the White House, condemning anti-Semitism and standing strong with Israel and the Jewish people. President Trump will once again deliver the most secure border in our nation's history and unleash the American economy. And he will bring peace through strength as Commander-in-Chief, standing with our allies and causing our enemies to fear us. President Trump has done it before, and he will do it again. This November, we are counting on you, we the people, to save America by electing President Donald J. Trump. It is clear for the whole world to see nothing, absolutely nothing will stop President Trump from standing and fighting for our great country. And I have been proud to always stand in the breach during the toughest moments for President Trump, from leading the charge against illegal impeachments, to standing for election integrity, to unifying House Republicans, to proudly being the first member of Congress to endorse him for re-election. And as we embark on the difficult path ahead to save America, call upon Galatians 6:9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. We the people will never give up on President Trump, and we will never give up on the United States of America. God bless you, God bless President Donald J. Trump, and God bless the United States of America.
You know, in watching that, I'm reminded of why, up until the last 2 or 3 days before that convention, I was convinced she was going to be Trump's VP pick. At first, I thought it would be Noam because of how much Noam just would not stop praising him to insane degrees, like giving him that version of Mount Rushmore with his face on it, the miniature version that she gave him during one of their meetings. But after Noam destroyed herself with the dog story from her horrible memoir, I recanted believing that it would be her. But I was still convinced that Trump would pick a woman. And I settled on Stefanik because she was from his home state. She's another one of these examples of Republicans who originally were against him and then became for him after they saw his rise. And in many ways, what happened with her kind of mirrors what happened with his actual pick, J.D. Vance, who at one point compared Trump to a certain German historical figure and is now on the ticket with him to be the supposed evil person's successor. So I'm just saying that she was, whatever came out of her mouth would be something I would want to hear as a result of her being someone who I thought had a really realistic shot of being Trump's VP, and who I do think would have been a solid pick all around, regardless of what I think of her individual positions. So this speech starts off and she talks about Biden's crisis after crisis. Inflation has been a recurring issue. When she gets to immigration and to, I guess when she, the whole defund the police thing, that's where I start to cringe, because for those that have forgotten, Biden's immigration policies, barring not building the wall, are not that much radically different from Trump's. ICE is still a thing. Deportations are still happening. It's, they've gotten rid of the kids in cages, right, concept, but much of it has been retained, to where there are a lot of left-wing people who think that he has not reformed Trump's policy anywhere near as much as he should. And defund police and her associating that with Biden is just a complete lie. There's almost no elected Democrat in America that supports defunding the police. Biden has actively spoken out against it while he was running in 2020, and just has never called for it. It's a complete, total sham, something that, again, goes back to why I said these speeches, it's sad that you can sit on a national stage and just blatantly lie like this, and instead of anyone saying, or going, hey, that's not true, this is the audience just eating it up, regardless of how inaccurate it is. Now, one part that's interesting is where she talks about these former college presidents that wouldn't agree to, if it violates the law of, or rather the policy of these schools, to say, I don't even want to repeat it, but death to a certain religious group or ethnic group, I should say. And my thing is, I think it's a horrible thing to say. I think it's awful. I could condemn it every way from Monday to Friday because I just don't agree with anyone having any good reason to say that. But I should also say that I don't think rhetoric is the same as actually doing something. If someone goes outside and says, I want to slash everyone's tires, as long as they're not slashing anyone's tires, I don't really see how they can be put in prison or punished for making a statement that, while not good, is still not the same as actually doing something. And that's the nuance of this problem, in that college is supposed to be a time where people experiment, they look into being something that's a highly contestable issue, where so many Israeli figures and Israel government supporters have tried to make it synonymous that being Jewish is also the same as being the Israeli government. That's why they call people who criticize the Israeli government anti-Semitic, even though we have no problem with Jewish people. There's plenty of Jewish people that are not doing any of this crazy, evil, murderous stuff, right? And we've made that distinction time and time again, to where at a certain point you just throw your hands up in the air and just say forget it, in terms of just trying to explain that you're not speaking negatively of Jewish people at all. You're just talking about a crappy government that happens to have Jewish heads of state. So again, that's another thing that she has been unwilling to address, which is that saying something is not the same as doing it. And I do think that does matter when you're talking about institutions where people are encouraged. They always talk about liberal indoctrination. Well, I don't know any liberals that are saying yes, we should be calling for the demises of a religious or ethnic group. There are liberals that criticize the Israeli government, you know, such as myself, or progressives, I guess you could say. And I still, if people didn't agree with me, I wouldn't want them thrown out. You know, if they said, get rid of Palestinians, which is actually something that Republican politicians have said. Let's not forget Haley putting "finish them all" on that what was that? I think it was a bomb over in Israel. You know, that was going to be targeted at the Palestinians. So just my point is that these people have really been involved with saying all manners of evil, and when it's said in the direction of people they don't like, they don't care. When it's said in the direction of people that they get money from in many cases, then suddenly they have a problem with it. Let me not mention AIPAC. Forgot we can't talk about them. And then when she says that Trump will bring moral clarity and more, like, just associating Trump with anything moral is so insane. You know, like, if you want to say America first, get jobs back, whatever, but you can't be someone who, like, whether you talk about him cheating on his wife, and that's, I don't think that affects him as a politician, but cheated on your wife, committed war crimes with the killing of the Iranian general, clearly do not honor commitments because you pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal after the U.S. signed into it. So it's just, I don't see where there's any grounds for, and let's not forget the Trump University scam from back in the day. It's insane to think of him as someone that you could associate anything moral with. And again, you don't have to be a fan of someone and think they're some great, amazing person that never does anything wrong. I mean, you know, I could say I really like Martin Luther King, and I'll freely admit he cheated on his wife. You know, it's just like, it's just stuff like that, where to wrap Trump in this almost angelic blanket, and we've talked about this before, how they like lionize him to ridiculous extents, right? You saw MTG compare him to Jesus, for example. It just gets really sickening, and it's like, he's just a politician. Like, if you want to say he'll bring back jobs, if you want to say he'll reduce inflation, okay, fine. But him and morals, like, they're counterintuitive to each other, and they're counterintuitive to most politicians. But just, oh man, that was a little bit under 5 minutes of insanity. But like I said, this speech shows why I think she would have made a good VP for Trump. I think we have not seen the last of her. She might end up being Speaker of the House at some point. And I think she, out of anyone that talked that I've done a video on, probably has the brightest future